Hey guys, welcome to the CO visit. Colin here, and got my trusty coffee. If you're wondering why it looks a little bit of light here, it's just I don't know. It's like it's getting dark really early. I mean, it's like right now it's 5:20, and it's too damn dark. I don't know what's going on, so I put a little LED lantern in front of me so I can get some light. So that's my. I mean, if I put it up here, let's see what happens if I put it here. Oh, hey, look at that. That's pretty good. Okay, well, I hope everyone's doing well. And as always, appreciate everybody there. I appreciate you watching and your comments and your likes. And it seems like there's still some people out there that just kind of seem like they don't get it. They want to come on. I mean, I'm all good as long as we're respectful and don't resort to insults and all that. But still, it's like there's some people that come on and they comment, and I've been going back and forth with this one guy on the truth video, and it's like, what? I mean, this is kind of the wrong place. I mean, you're not going to convince me, and if I'm not going to convince you, then we're kind of wasting our time. So anyway, well, so I got to, I think, the part where I came to Honduras. So I'm going to summarize a lot of this stuff. Otherwise, it's going to be like a 10-part series, and we're never going to finish. So when I came down here, which was, was a short trip. I told you after that wedding, I met my friend, and then we came down here, and we were working on this Kingdom Hall, building the roof on it, and that's where I met my first wife. And basically, we kind of just right away just kind of fell in love. It was really crazy. I didn't speak any Spanish. I mean, I had this little tiny pocket dictionary about this big, and I was trying to learn, and I could say like some words, and we kind of, I don't know, somehow we managed to get, understand some sentences and whatever. I went back to the States after a week. So we're talking about now it's December, 2002. I went back for a few months. And then after that, I went back to Honduras. I was back in Honduras by about, I would say January, February, right around there. I was back in Honduras again. I went back. And by April 2023, it was now, New Year. I went back in January or February. I don't remember which month. 2023 or 22, right around in that area. And no, it was 23. Excuse me, 23. And by April, we were married. It was just a whirlwind. It was crazy. So that happened. My first daughter was born in Choluteca, Honduras, on December 24th. So Christmas Eve, 2024. And then, so we just started living our life there. I started finding a job. I started working at a school and decided that I was going to make Honduras my new home, because at that point, I really didn't have anything to go back to in the States. I mean, by that time, the issue, the situation going on with my parents, they were pretty much out of the organization. That was done, and they moved away. They lost their home, and that happened in the meantime when I went back. Those few months that I went back, that all happened, and they moved away, and it was just kind of from there they just went cold as far as the org goes, and I just was like, what am I going back to? I was just not. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be in the environment. I thought, well, I could start serving down here. There's lots of need. So I became a need grader, and I started serving in the congregation. So I started working at the school, and I started trying to get on track with getting my papers resolved there in Honduras, getting residency. And pretty much immediately I was named a ministerial servant in that congregation. And we kind of pretty much started like making that my own congregation. And for all intents and purposes, during the few years that I served like that, I was pretty much an acting elder. I always mention that in my stories because even though I was a ministerial servant, uh, there was only two of us. There were only two servants, and there was one elder, which was a missionary brother, also from Minnesota, older guy. And so, of course, he couldn't have elders meetings by himself. So we were included on all of that. We had, I got an elders manual, and so that started some chinks in my armor because I started reading that. I was really surprised because I knew about it, but up until that point, guys, remember, I was like 21 years old at that time, 22 years old. I was pretty young still, and I had only heard about those things, but I didn't realize what was in it. And when I was reading it, it was just kind of surprising to actually see that stuff in print. That it was actually, it wasn't just my imagination. These were procedures. But at that time, you just kind of took it as like, well, we're on this higher level now. We have more responsibilities, and this is the kind of stuff that you just kind of have to accept, right? This is how the organization is run, and it just is how it is. But it was surprising to see a lot of that stuff in the manual, and I made videos about that before. I'll probably have to go back to that. But the Elders Manual is an eye-opener, and they change it all the time, which is another reason that just tells you that, hey, this is not God's spirit, because they're always having to update and change these procedures according to what's happening outside of the organization with lawsuits and all the stuff that's going on. And as they're getting forced to do different things, either by courts or by governments, they have to modify the manual. So it's not God's spirit, okay? It's not God's spirit. It's the governments, and it's the court systems. They're having to basically knuckle under the laws, just like they're told to do, right, in Romans. So anyway, I really noticed what started to really, really bother me was the fact that I was raised as a witness. I was born in, and we did everything we were supposed to do, and we were, and in the States, it was like by the book. You did this, you did that. If you didn't get appointed. You had to fight for your privileges. And then when I came down here, I started to see that the treatment and just everything was totally different. The way brothers and sisters were treated. One of the things I noticed is that the brothers and sisters didn't really. I mean, people would go to the hall and go to the meetings and everything, but it didn't change their personality at all, at all. It was just like a routine. It was just you go to the meetings, but people still were just the way they were always, and it never, people were never like, especially here with the education system is just dismal, dismal, and people are not very educated, especially Jehovah's Witnesses. People who are Jehovah's Witnesses are generally, for the most part, not to say that there's not others that are, but for the most part, your run-of-the-mill Jehovah's Witnesses are, very like down to earth, just not very high academic education, and they're not interested in it either. People here don't read. People don't, worry about studying or worrying about, like investigating things or anything. They just, whatever they're told them, well, they must know, those are gringos back there in New York. They must know. They're smarter than us, right? They have all this money, and they're in a more advanced country, and people just blindly follow it. But it absolutely did not affect their personality whatsoever. And I also noticed that everything was so informal. Everything was so disorganized. And it was like a lot of the stuff, about 99% of the stuff that went on down here, you would never get away with in the States. In an American congregation, it wouldn't happen. I mean, it was just brothers were so informal, and they were so lackadaisical about everything. You got people like most of the people in the brothers especially will show up about 2 or 3 minutes before the meeting starts while the music is playing. Like before, about 5 minutes, 10 minutes before the meeting starts, they start playing music. There's that ambiance music that kind of lets you get in the mood. And it's kind of like, it's kind of time to start shuffling towards the seats, and then when that music stops, like it's about to start. Well, here, 2 3 minutes before the meeting, you've got 10 15 brothers standing right outside the Kingdom Hall door, all like putting a tie on, because at the Kingdom Hall you had to wear a tie. Other than that, we never did. Nobody ever wore a tie. Not in the ministry, not in no, because they said because of the weather and all of that, we never wore ties. Nobody wore suit coats. Never. And it was just very informal. And I was always like, trying to, and I would bring that up like in talk, and I would try to mention that, like, we're supposed to be, our image that we portray to the public and being responsible, and, we should, like, get ready on time, get ready at home. The Kingdom Hall is not the place to come and get dressed, and pretty much, I mean, you got guys practically coming and like putting their shirts on. I mean, it was just like wild. And also, when they would name people, when the congregation later on, years later, started growing, and in some of the other congregations as well, the choices they made, some of the people they made, you could really see that it wasn't based on their abilities. It wasn't based on whether they were, how spiritual they were. It was based on the hours, and it was based on their obedience. And what happened here is, which is very common in these types of cultures, where, you have a culture where most people are very poor, very humble, and you have people that don't have much like academic education, and they get privileges within the congregation, and it's total power trip. The brothers that like become elders are just like on cloud nine, and then what'll happen is they name like these other brothers when they're the ministerial servants, and they will be very submissive and humble to the elders, especially the foreign ones like the missionaries and all of that. But then they turn around and they mistreat their other Honduran brothers because they're on a power trip, because I'm a ministerial servant and you're going to listen to me and this and that. And it was just like, and I would talk to the missionary brothers a lot, like, how did you make this guy a servant? With what he qualified? How? He's such an ass. He's an ass. And this happened all the time. And I had arguments with brothers a lot because of how they were treating other people. I did not like that, like, power trip, like I have power now. I was brought up to believe like the more privileges you got, you were supposed to go down, as far as, the farther you went up the ladder, the more you went down in humility and just, being approachable, and just the opposite. And that went on a lot. And I saw a lot of people were very given to preferring, like they would choose sides. They would choose certain brothers that they like to listen to and just follow. And then they wouldn't like when some of the missionary brothers came, and they were very like, of course they just came from Gilead, the Gilead school. They came, they're by the book, apply it, make the congregation run like you're supposed to. And then when they tried to do that, they would meet with resistance. And one thing I learned early on, one of the first things I learned when I came to Honduras, is don't come down here like Superman, like Captain America, and thinking you're going to change this country. Don't come down here thinking you're going to save the world, because you know what? They don't want to. They don't want it. People don't want you to save them or change them or have them, do things like back in the United States or things like that. No. They got the country that they want. Things are the way they are because that's how they want it, even though they complain and everything else, but nobody does anything to change it. And at the end of the day, if you try to make any changes, then they start resisting you. And then it's, this gringo comes down here and thinks he's going to tell us what to do, and this is our country and this and that. Go back to the States and then it's just, okay. So can't do that. I learned right away, when you come down to one of these countries, guys, you learn their language and you assimilate to their culture. Either you become a Honduran, pretty much, you have to convert, you have to assimilate everything, or you're not going to last. Okay? If you want to live in this little bubble and try to just hang out like what you just want to hang out with other Americans and you just want to eat American food and you just want, and all this stuff, you're not going to last. You've got to assimilate into the culture here. And I did. And I did it very well, maybe too well. And I would like to think that I have the best of both worlds. I've retained my base, how I was raised, with being responsible, being accountable, and loving intellectual things and studying and reading and music and all of that stuff. But also, I've learned to become a little bit more relaxed and just go with the flow and just, hey, whatever happens, you just roll with it, and you just don't worry about things, and you just learn to be happy with what you have. And if you get more, well, great. But you know what? You learn to live with very little and just enjoy life. And as you can see here, guys, like I said, we've been blessed beyond my wildest dreams, but we're happy with all of this. We're happy with nothing. We're happy, just living life, enjoying life, being able to sit outside, in front of your house, have a drink, talk to your neighbors. We know everybody here. We know all of our neighbors. We, by name, and we talk to each other. And it's just like the community is very, very close. Families are very close. We're all here with, my wife, my stepchildren. We're here. They work here. Like my older stepdaughters were in their 20s now, and we all pull together and we help each other. We all pitch in and we all contribute to the costs here and everything. And it's nice that way. It's just, it's a warm feeling. Whereas back in the US, we've lost that. We've lost that connection with our communities, with our neighbors. Nobody talks to anybody anymore. You don't know your neighbors. You don't want to, it's wild. So, I saw a lot of congregational things that were a lot different. I also saw how the quality of kingdom halls pissed me off to no end. Because why should we have to, down here, being a witness is work. It's kind of like, guys, I can put it to you this way. Imagine having to change, you're in a company and let's say your company has different branches all over, and they tell you, we need you to go to this other company in another state or another country or whatever. And you go there and you're going to do the same job. Let's say you have a managerial position. You have something very heavy. You have lots of responsibility. You're going to go to this place now. You're going to have worse quality of life. You're going to earn, less money, and you're going to do the same job. We're going to send you there. You're going to make a quarter of what you're making in the States, or less, maybe a third, or not even that. No, an eighth. A third is more. You can make a quarter or an eighth of what you're making right now, and you're going to do the same job. That's what it's like here. It's like you come down here, you have to do all the same stuff, go to meetings, go out preaching, and you go out preaching on foot everywhere. And it's 100 fucking degrees every single day in that zone that I lived in. It was very hot all year round. And just unsupportable. Even the people there couldn't stand it, much less me from Minnesota. It was hell. And you're out in the sun walking through this territory on foot, and it's these dusty, horrible dirt roads, and it just and you got to do all of that, and it's like, why do we get in the Kingdom Hall is just the most basic stripped down building possible. It's they're made out of concrete blocks, laminate roof, kind of like you see back here, but no fancy, nothing, paint, anything like that. It's got a simple paint job on it, but just blah, like a kind of a white, kind of a cream color. And then on the inside, just a tile floor, no air conditioning. There's a few windows, and you got these horrible, wooden benches, like the pews in the Catholic Church. These horrible wooden benches, and you got to sit on those things, and it's just horrible, uncomfortable. And that's what you get, the bare minimum. I don't think one of those Kingdom Halls, the building, I don't think it can cost $15,000 or $20,000, if even that. It's just the bare minimum. And it was like, why? The people in the States would never stand being in a Kingdom Hall like this without air conditioning, without comfortable seats. Hell no. But we had to put up with it because, like I said, you have different classes of citizenship within the organization. And people that live in these countries, the society, the governing body basically says, well, but they're poor. They're used to that anyway. They're not used to having all these. So if the people accept that, they just let that go. Instead of saying, no, we're going to give you a nice quality. If you go into a Mormon temple here, total, and I've been in them, totally, just like they build them in the States, they build them here. Beautiful grounds, basketball courts, the building inside, air conditioning, fans, seats with padding on them, you know, in the auditorium where they do their worship, and it's all paved on the inside, concrete. They have parking and all this stuff, and it's big fences around it, gates and everything. And it's like, you're going to tell me this multi-billion-dollar real estate company can't invest in little nicer buildings for these people down here so they're not fucking dying of heat down here, you know? And that's what happened when we went to, I think it was in 2004, 2005. I think it was 2005, because Donna, my oldest daughter, who was born in 2004, she was just learning to walk. She was just about a year old, and she was just walking and up and down, and you couldn't stop her. She never crawled. Donna never crawled. She just stood up and just right away started wanting to walk. And then by that time, we went to this national convention. So it was all the congregations in Honduras. So there was like just, you know, the brothers. And then people came from Guatemala. And at the end, there was like 40, 50,000 people there in San Pedro Sula, the industrial capital. And it was in this, hold on, I gotta see what time it is. Oh, dang. I got to go pick up my daughters. So I'm going to wrap this up, and we're going to have to make another video. But hey, you guys are along for the ride, right? We're in this big stadium. It's a Olympic stadium that they use mainly for football, soccer. And it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare, guys. I'll never forget that convention. Never in my life. It was so nightmarish. It was a disaster. I got to go pick up my girls. I didn't think this was going to take this long. I thought it was earlier. So I'm going to leave it there. In the next video, I guess it's going to be part 4. I'll pick up with the National Convention in Honduras. That National Convention was a turning point in my life in Honduras. That opened my eyes to a couple of things. You want to know what they were? I'll let you know in the next video. Thanks for watching the CO Visit, guys. Hit that like button, subscribe. It's not going to cost you a thing. All right? So, one more little drink, and I'll see you in the next one.